Today we're going to go back and we're going to talk about standard form again. Now, since the first time we talked about standard form, we talked about factored form, which had some nice shortcuts with x-intercepts, and we talked about vertex form, which is great because it tells you what the vertex is. Now, standard form didn't have a lot of shortcuts. So what we're going to do is talk about how we can kind of turn standard form into one of the other two. And the way we're going to do that today is basically by finding the vertex. So first of all, if you have a quadratic in standard form, and here's a reminder for you guys, standard form is y equals ax squared plus bx plus c, then you have this little mini equation, I wrote it in red right there, x equals negative b over 2a, and that's going to give you the axis of symmetry. Now that's not the vertex yet, but it's the first step, so let's start with that. So here's an equation. Y equals 2x squared minus 8x plus 5. And you guys notice right off the bat, it's in standard form. And in standard form, remember, this number here is A, this number here is B, and this number here is C. So basically we're saying A equals positive 2, B equals negative 8, and C equals positive 5. Now the equation I gave you to find the axis of symmetry was x equals negative b over 2a. So I'm actually not going to use the c for this part. I'm going to use the a and the b only. So what I get is negative 8. And it's all over 2 times 2. Now a negative times a negative is a positive. So basically I get positive 8, and remember we said that with vertex form. Basically when I say negative b, what I really mean is to change the sign, and that's why it becomes a positive b. Now on the denominator, 2 times 2 is 4, and 8 divided by 4 is 2. So the axis of symmetry is x equals 2. Now let's talk about how that's going to help us find the vertex. So if you remember from the first time we talked about parabolas, we saw that the vertex is always on the axis of symmetry. So if I have my graph right here, and I have an axis of symmetry at x equals 2, remember an axis of symmetry is a vertical line that cuts a parabola exactly in half. Well, if it cuts a parabola exactly in half, like that, then the vertex always has to be on it. And what that means is that number we just found, 2, or that negative b over 2a, it gives you the x value of the vertex. And to finish it, you take that number, you plug it back into the original equation, it gives you the y point, because that's how you find points. If you're looking for a point in a graph, you take x, you plug it into the equation, it tells you what y is. So let's add to this example. This is the same problem from before, so I'm not going to redo the work. I do my negative b over 2a and I get 2. That was from the first part of my example. Now, for the second part of this problem, I'm going to take that 2 and I'm going to plug it into my equation for all of the x's. So I have 2 times 2 squared minus 8 times 2 plus 5. And we do the exponents first. 2 squared is 4. This is order of operations. Exponents come first. I do the multiplication second. 2 times 4 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. And then I do all the addition and subtraction from left to right. So I do 8 minus 16 is negative 8. And negative 8 plus 5 is negative 3. So the x part was 2. The y part is negative 3. The answer to the question, the vertex is 2, negative 3. All right, so that's how you can find the vertex when it's in standard form. It's a two-step question. Step 1, you do negative b over 2a to find the x part of the vertex. And then step 2, once you get that answer, you plug it back into the equation to get the y part. Now let's take this same example and add one more step to it. Let's sketch it. So what we said, and I'm going to use my work again. We already know that the vertex is 2, negative 3. Now at this point, put a graph in here for us to do this. I should have put a blank graph in my notes. At this point, we know what the vertex is. It's positive 2, that would be 2 to the right, negative 3, that would be down 3, so there's my vertex. Now we're going to finish this question the same way we did with the vertex form yesterday. This number here is A. It's a positive number, so the graph is opening up. And it's a 2, so again, it's a little skinnier than normal. So I'm going to draw an upward opening parabola and make it maybe a little bit skinnier than I normally draw my parabolas. And that red one is the final answer. So that's going to be a good shortcut for you guys. If you need to graph a parabola in standard form, do it in 2 steps. Use negative b over 2a, plug it back in, that finds the vertex, and then you're basically finishing the question just like you already know how to.